So how did you deal with losing your father?
I don't know. I have no words for that. I fought his cancer for 7 years, and it came back and it disappeared and it came back. I threw everything that I knew at it. I mean, everyone in the world comes to me with their problems and disease, and I'm here trying to save my best friend, my father, my God, his life for years. I shut down every part of my life and just focused on that. And there was points where UCSD oncology was like, whatever you're doing, Chervin, just keep doing it. We don't want to give them any of our poison. Just keep doing whatever you're doing. It's working. It's working. And then it comes back and goes. So it wasn't this one thing. It was this whole experience, 7 years of it.
Wow.
It wasn't until week, the last week when it spread to his brain, that I had given up. And I still feel guilty for giving it up at a week, but I did it for him because he was begging me to shut it down. He was more concerned with me than he was for himself. All the conversations he had privately with my best friends, my business partner and CEO Shahab, and my friends and family, Jamie, the whole crew, was we need to figure out how Chervin's going to handle this. And they knew how much of my reality was his reality and how we were joined in that connection. And so I went to the practice. It was 2-3 years of medicine work that led me into this situation, almost like it was fate. I started getting into entheogens around 2014, 2015. I went into the jungles. I got blown away by very, very powerful medicines. I had death and rebirth, samadhi, the practice of dying before dying. I went through all of these intervals. If I hadn't done any of that work, there's no way I would have survived that whole process. That work showed me that I'm not the body. My dad is not the body. The soul is eternal. I felt that in those medicine realms. I was able to pull myself out of the composition of thinking I am material, that I am Chervin, that my dad is Mustafa. I knew in that moment, in those experiences, that the unfolding is way more clever than what we could even think to imagine, and that we are forever souls. And it was that experience and those experiences adding up that let me walk my dad through this. So a week before, when we gave up and brought him home, I started going back into the work. And there's a whole thing. We read him the rites, the Tibetan rites.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tibetans and myself believe you go through the Bardo states.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read him the rites, and the thinking was, I have to lessen my hold on him.
Yeah.
And so I had a meeting with my sister and my mother and some of the other family members, and I said, and I hadn't eaten food in months. I weigh 205 right now. I was 155.
Wow.
Yep. I was just in that kind of, it's like I was in some psychedelic Vipassana trip, like a hypnotic state.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally 50 pounds lighter than I am right now.
Can't imagine it.
It's just crazy.
How long ago was this?
This was February 28th, 2019.
Yeah.
And interesting enough,
right before COVID.
Right before COVID, there's just something to that. And all the numbers all the numbers on his transition date were all threes. Like it was 2019, which adds up, you do the math on that.
Mm-hmm.
That adds up to a 3.
Mm-hmm.
8:13 a.m., which is a 12, which is a 3.
Mm-hmm.
And 2:28, which is a 12, is a 3. All 333. I had my name Chervin 333 from 2016.
Wow.
And we kept him 3 days in his position. That's just the Tibetan way. And then cremated him. I don't know how I did it, man. It was a dream. The whole thing was a dream. It was some kind of cathartic nightmare that just flowed. And I can't comprehend the experience, and it's hard to still get into it. But I feel like I'm evolving every single day, and that's why I focus on the practice, and I focus on the fact that just like you, like how you just said right now with your parents, is how blessed are we to even have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people that had never had a relationship with their father. You know, I was showcasing my relationship with my dad for years, since 2015, since I got on social media around that time. It was me, it's like videos of me and my dad everywhere. And just showing like, hey brothers, you can love your father. You can be intimate with your father. You can kiss him and hug him and doing all those things. And my relationship with him spawned a movement with so many brothers and sisters saying, just thank you. I have a, you know, it's every day today, same thing. Just want to say your relationship with your dad has put me back into a situation where I can start over with my family. And that right there, my dad knew that. He knew that. And so it's a journey for sure, and it's never going to change. You know, till my last breath, I'm going to be missing my father, but it evolves. And what I do notice is that I definitely don't have the same highs as before. All the success and the growth and expansion and relationships and, you know, the enterprising and developing of all the alchemy with Symbiotica and all these cool things, it's awesome, but it just doesn't hit the same. All my successes in my life, like my SAT score, you know, or, you know, whatever, this job, this, all these experiences, the first person to find out was my dad. And you know, I remember I can just hear him. He'd always go, "My God," and I'm doing it from his voice. "My God, what did I do to deserve this as my son?" He'd say that same line. That was his opening line. You know, every single time, and I can hear it. So I kind of have him telling me these things, and he's shown up too in many ways. Robert, it's interesting. Like I'll give you a really cool story. So that Father's Day after he transitioned, I was invited by a good friend of mine. His name's Marley Bankoff, to go join him and his family up in Eugene, Oregon, for Father's Day. They do a whole celebration up there, and I was like, that's a pretty ballsy move for him to invite me up on. And Marley was close with my dad, and then I got it. Like they want me to be around the family spirit and to share that energy. So I went up there on Father's Day to Eugene, Oregon, in 2019, and we went on some incredible river, Mackenzie River up there. It's unbelievable. Eagles flying. We're all in canoes, and we get back to the house, and Marley's mom goes, "Hey boys, can you guys go run over to the co-op and pick up, you know, these groceries?" So we jumped in the car. On the way up there, Marley is just confessing his love for me as a brother. He's like, it's been my whole life. I've never actually felt like I've had a connection with another guy like I have with you, where I can be honest about things. And I'm a little bit older than him, so I have like kind of an older brother energy with him. But he's also highly intelligent and has deep conversations just like you and I do. And he's getting very emotional, and I can tell it's just like emotions are high. And we get into the co-op. We will get out of the car, get in the co-op, and he goes, "Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm talking your head off. How do you feel today?" Like, you know, because we're around family, a lot of commotion. He's like, how do you feel? Like, I'm sorry for talking so much, but how are you feeling?" It was right in that moment that he said that I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and I go, "What the hell is that?" And he looks at me and he goes, "What is it?" And I go, "What is on that lady's shirt?" And he goes, and he walks around and he looks at it, and I'm standing there, and he looks at me with disbelief. He couldn't believe what he had seen. And right when I saw his reaction, I knew what I had saw. So I walked around, and sure enough, was some random lady in some random town on Father's Day, and she had a T-shirt, and on that T-shirt was a goat, and above it said Baba. Okay. Now, if you
And
know,
you called your father
my
Baba.
Baba in Iranian in Farsi is Baba. Everyone knew my dad as Baba, and they also knew him as the goat, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And you couldn't script that on Father's Day in that moment in some random town. I mean, we could do some calculus and try to figure out the probability of that.
Totally.
And I asked her with a tear in my eye. I said, "Where did you get this shirt?" She's like, "My kids made it for me." So it wasn't this like national shirt, Coca-Cola shirt, whatever, Hugo Boss, Gucci. So you couldn't, and there's been 10 more of those. Documented.
We kind of had a synchronicity this morning, even.
Yeah. Archangel Michael.
Yeah, we
The
were
sword,
talking
the
about
wings.
the sword and the wings, and
Fighting the
you didn't even know that I'd posted that this morning, and then you mentioned it to me that you were with your cousin in Texas.
That's
and
all we were going over. That's all we were
crazy.
talking about.
It's definitely in the
The
consciousness.
spirit of Archangel Michael.
It's
Putting
in
the sword down.
consciousness. Yeah.
Severing the head of the snake.
Woo, I just got a chill.
Thank you for, by the way, thank you for asking me about my dad.
Well, I knew he's
Yeah.
such an important
Yeah.
part of all of our conversations.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to ask that
Yeah.
for a long time now, but we
Yeah.
just never found the moment. And so thank you for sharing that with us. I know that he meant a lot to you. He still does mean a lot to you.